What is up, guys? Welcome into yet another edition of the Ben Garcia Show. Thank you so much for making us a part of your day, however you're watching, however you're following the show. We appreciate you doing so. I'm back from Minnesota. You're getting a show a day late this week. I apologize for that. It is the Benjamin Garcia production company, which is basically just a long form of a joke to say you were looking at the writer, editor, a content creator, a social media manager, host, producer, cameraman. I do it all here on the Ben Garcia Show. So, couldn't have I didn't have an ability to do any of this in Minnesota. I got a bunch of really cool footage from my time in Minnesota. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm struggling with if I want to put it together or if I just want to leave it in my phone for keepsake. Be honest with you, I am very, very tired. It was a long weekend, but it was a ton of fun, although the Cardinals let me down. But that's a good place to start. We have other things to talk about today on the Ben Garcia Show, and thanks for making us part of today. Like, share, subscribe on YouTube, and tell a friend about the Ben Garcia Show. We have a lot of things to get to in the NFL world. I was able to catch up on all the NFL stories, on everything that I should have an opinion on. But before I do that, I was in Minnesota. There was a huge Cardinals game against the Vikings that I said was a Minneapolis must-win. You know of the result of that contest, so let's get you my opinion. So the Cardinals traveled to Minneapolis. I did as well. And they went to go play the Minnesota Vikings in the game that I said was a Minneapolis must-win. And must-win, I believe it was, if you wanted to make the playoffs. Now, things get a little dicey. You basically have to go 4-1 down the stretch, which is easy to do, which is not easy to do, but it is definitely doable with the schedule that they have. But still, it's a game that they had to win, and they didn't. And there's a lot of blame and argument and dialect that is going towards either side of the ball. There are some people that are like, the defense can't give up 6 points on the last drive. Well, gave up 23 points to a Vikings team who was shredding people offensively all year. The defense gets zero blame. In fact, Jonathan Gannon and Nick Rawlis, for that in particular statistic, the defense and how well they played, get a gold star. I thought they couldn't have played much better. And they still continue to show that they can do more with less on the defensive side of the ball. Maybe these defensive players are just good, and I have no idea what I'm talking about, but a defensive gem from the Arizona Cardinals. And then there are some people that are blaming Jonathan Gannon for some clock management nonsense or not going for it on fourth down. I'm struggling to decide who deserves the biggest slice of blame pie in this game, because I don't want to be seen as a Kyler Murray hater. That's ridiculous. If you think I dislike Kyler Murray, you are ridiculous. I wore the guy's freaking jersey to the game this week. I went full fanboy this week. That is not me, but I wanted to let loose a little bit, have a little bit more fun. No, I did not like that in that reaction video I was wearing a Cardinals beanie. It's hard to go after the team if you're wearing their memorabilia, but I am a fan of this team. It's a team that I grew up watching, and I became a fanboy for the weekend. But I am back as Colin Cowherd says, America's honesty broker. But I guess I would say I'm the Cardinals' honesty broker. I love Kyler. If you try to paint me as a Kyler Murray hater, go for it. That's just some extreme copium. I wore the dude's jersey to the game this weekend. Kyler is an absurdly talented player. But if we act like he deserves no blame for this weekend, what are we doing as a franchise? If you want to act like everything is fine at the quarterback position because you're sensitive to talk about if we have the guy or not, that's a you issue, man. And I won't stand for it. I won't do it, regardless of what people think. I've praised Kyler earlier this year, and I will continue to do so when he plays well. And I'll praise this team when they play well. But I'm not just going to blindly or turn a blind eye to some of Kyler Murray's horrendous decisions. I thought Kyler played great for 2.5 quarters of this game. And then it got really dicey. And when pressure came up the middle, It seemed like earlier in the game, he was still finding guys, and he ran the ball really effectively. If you get rid of one of these interceptions, and you take that one interception, it turns into a touchdown, and Kyler Murray's stat line is 31 for 45, 260, 2 touchdowns, an interception, and 48 passing yards, or 48 rushing yards, we are having a completely different conversation. But the difference between elite quarterbacks and good quarterbacks is that interception. That interception to Byron Murphy was inexcusable. And you can go bird box and put a blinder or a fanboy glasses because you're really sensitive to talk about the quarterback. You can do that. I'm not going to. I am on record saying Kyler is absurdly talented. If you want to paint me as a Kyler Murray hater, go for it. Because I want to hold people accountable and this team accountable so that they're good when we need them, so that they understand that we won't take mediocrity. Go for it. I'm not sensitive to that. You want a Cardinals fan page? Go find one. This ain't it. Kyler, I'm struggling with blame because I do think it is very, very reasonable to say, man, the play calling was outrageous. Drew Petzing's play calling was outrageous. Two things can be true. The play calling was absurdly horrible, has gone back to old habits, and Drew Petzing might need to go. And we'll get to that in just a second. And what's also true is Kyler Murray did not play well in the biggest spots. And the biggest question of this game, and the biggest question still of Kyler Murray is, can he be consistent? Can he be great in big spots? This was a must-win game if you wanted to make the playoffs. You basically got to go 4-1 down the stretch now. And the intentional grounding that basically took away points late in this game was horrendous. The interception to Byron Murphy was horrendous. Those are two game-changing plays. And if you don't want to hold Kyler Murray accountable for that, if you don't want to say he holds a big slice, a big old heaping blame pie because you're too sensitive to talk about the quarterback position, that's a you issue, that ain't a me issue. Because those things are true. Kyler has to be better. He has to be. It's year 6. You could not make that horrid pick and intentional grounding call late in those games. Both of those things turned into points the other direction and took off points for the Arizona Cardinals. So if you don't want to hold them accountable for that, you go right ahead and do so. If you want to put on the bird box blinders, you go ahead and do so. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to. Kyler has to be better in those spots. It's year 6, man. There's no excuse for either of those horrendous decisions. So that's the blame for Kyler, who I thought played extraordinarily well for like 2.5 quarters. Controlled the clock, made good decisions, but also you can't ask Kyler to throw 45 times and you win this game. And then that shifts me over to Drew Petzing that I want to have an honest conversation about. Drew Petzing is coaching for his job this weekend against the Seattle Seahawks. There was a sliver in this season where he got rid of the bad habits, stopped dinking and dunking, and stopped portraying an offense that should be done for a quarterback game manager with a ton of weapons. That's how he's calling games. He's calling games like he has Tyrod Taylor as his quarterback, and he just doesn't want him to screw it up. Drew Petzing doesn't trust Kyler Murray, and I can't really understand why. He's not an interception throwing machine. He's absurdly accurate. He's got an insane deep ball, and he's got one of the best mobility in the NFL, next to Lamar Jackson, next to Josh Allen. One of the best mobile quarterbacks in the NFL. And he's coaching a game like he's got Tyrod Taylor in the backfield. Drew Petzing is coaching for his job this weekend. If he doesn't figure it out, I couldn't care less what the experience level is for the people behind Drew Petzing. We can't have this again. The dinking and dunking all the way down the field, refusing to use Marvin Harrison Jr. downfield, who continuously makes absurd catches in the end zone, high points the football, and at times can drop it because he's just not in the game plan for most of the time. Jonathan Gannon has to have a serious heart-to-heart with Drew Petzing. Sit him down and say, dude, what is your game plan for this week? Because my defense is shutting people out. We can't have this anymore. I've heard Drew Petzing from people that I know. I won't give out sourcing. It's not right to do on the show. But have all said he's an amazingly nice guy. He will sit and chit-chat with you for hours. He's a really nice guy. And he seems like that. He seems like a really good dude. I couldn't care less. You have got to get in this guy's face. You've got to let him know this is not okay. Because I think it is firmly down the middle, the blame pie this weekend. I think Kyler owns a huge chunk of it. 40%. I would say the coaching staff and absurd clock management issues own 10% of that. And I'd say 50% of the blame goes to Drew Petzing. So I'd say large chunk of the blame pie goes to Drew Petzing, then Kyler Murray, then the coaching staff, absurd clock management. But that's what it is. That's what it is. That's the issue. And you can put on the bird box blinders and say everything's okay. Kyler Murray has to be better. And if we are going to just put on these bird box blinders and say Kyler Murray should not be allowed to have blame, that's you telling me you don't think he's that great either. Because we don't have any issues going after Josh Allen, going after Patrick Mahomes, going after Lamar Jackson, going after Joe Burrow. We don't have any issues with that. So if you are getting upset with me for going after Kyler Murray, so be it, man. So be it. That's you telling me you don't think he's that great. If I can't have some blame go towards Kyler Murray and give him the belief that he deserves when he succeeds and give him praise, which I do, but the second I open my mouth and go after and say, hey, he's got to be better, you want to call me a hater or whatever, go for it. But I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to sit here and make you feel better. If we can't criticize players on this team, that being the most polarizing in Kyler Murray, you're telling me you don't really believe he's that good because you're so sensitive to it. Because no one, when you go after Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, when you go after them, no one thinks that when you say, oh man, they're just not very good. No one argues with you. They just say you're an idiot. You have to be willing to accept these kind of talks when it comes to Kyler Murray. It's just what it is. I'm allowed to go after him. You are too. Hold your team accountable. Stop letting players and coaches and management get away with things. The last 2 games cannot happen. And that's not just a Kyler thing. That's a whole team issue. You're up 19-6 in this game. You outgain them. You outrush them. You outpass them. And you lose that game. Are we sure the Cardinals are still a good team? Because good teams win that game. You were in control of that game. You know who was a good team? The Minnesota Vikings. Because they were down all game. They got outgained in nearly every statistic. And they still said, damn it, let's go win this game. And they did. That's what good teams do. You know what bad teams do? And I'm not so sure if the Cardinals are a bad team. I don't think at this point I can say they're a good team. I can say that they're an inconsistent team by half to half, quarter to quarter. But you know what good teams do? They don't give up at home down 19-6. They go march down the field and beat the other team convincingly in the second half when it matters. Hold your team accountable, man. Hold your freaking team accountable. Take off the fanboy sunglasses. Take off the bird box blinders. Cardinals, this loss is the worst loss of the season. That you go from nearly a shoo-in to the playoffs, regardless if you win the division or not, with a bunch of winnable games coming up, to, all right, now you got to go 4-1. It's an absurd place to be. It's an absurd place to be, and they shouldn't be there. And to everyone saying, we didn't even expect they'd be here 6-6 through 13 games or through 12 games. Really? Expectations change. When you are 6-4 on the season, have Geno Smith coming out twice, Sam Darnold, Bryce Young, and Drake May, and you don't say, man, playoffs could happen, it's a loser mentality. It's a loser mentality. And, you might not come here for that sort of honesty sometimes, but I'm going to be honest with you. Horrendous loss. Just a horrendous loss for the Cardinals this weekend. All right, let's talk about my favorite thing to talk about each and every week. Not really. I just like doing reactions to things. So Monday Night Football happened last night. It was so funny. This game was being talked about being flexed out. And if this ended up being a game that was played on Sunday, the same statistics, the same score, it would be very funny because it was actually a highly entertaining game. Jameis Winston, 497, 4 touchdowns, 3 picks. I'll get into the Broncos in just a second here. But I wanted to say something out loud that I tweeted last night. You can follow me on all social media platforms. I've made it easy for you at Ben Garcia Show, BenGarciaShow, Ben Garcia Show. All social media platforms, you can find me there. But it was very funny. I tweeted out last night. If you wanted to see why Jameis Winston was the number 1 overall pick years ago, watch this game. If you want to see why it never worked out, also watch this game. Tonight was the epitome of Jameis Winston as a quarterback in the NFL. The highest of highs, the lowest of lows. Almost Sam Darnold-esque, where Sam Darnold has gotten the turnovers kind of coached out of him. Jameis Winston still hasn't had those. The last interception I thought was the worst of all the other ones. He threw the ball right to the linebacker. But still, if you can have a backup quarterback on your team, Jameis Winston is still that guy because he can come in and he can be very viable at the quarterback position, but also be the reason why you lose games. Now, that's enough for the Browns. Also, Jerry Jeudy has really kind of exploded. I know people were talking about last night and him having 235 yards receiving, but since Jameis Winston's come in, Jerry Jeudy's been really good. I cannot believe it took this long for the Cleveland Browns to make a change at the quarterback position. It was so obvious Deshaun Watson might be the worst quarterback in the NFL. He's cooked, both mentally and physically. He's terrible. He is terrible. Don't even talk about the horrific things off the field. I don't want to say I don't care about that because obviously I do, but just in this conversation, just leave it to the side. He is like an awful quarterback. He is the worst quarterback in the NFL. I cannot believe it took this long to put literally anyone in that position with Deshaun Watson on. Clearly they had to with the injury to Deshaun Watson. I believe his Achilles. They're like a 10 times better offense. Now, it's not even saying that I'm not even saying they're top 15 offense. But they went from the worst offense in the NFL with Deshaun Watson to, 25th. Best, I guess the highest jump just by switching quarterbacks. So Deshaun Watson is so awful, and Jameis Winston is the roller coaster and the gift that keeps on bringing. Let's jump over to the Denver Broncos. People are giving a lot of praise to Bo Nix, and I have done that also. It was so funny. A couple weeks ago, I said, all right, let's hold off on Bo Nix. We're not sure yet. And now I'm like, yeah, Bo Nix reminds me a lot of Drew Brees. I'm not comping him to Drew Brees. It's the most accurate quarterback ever. One of the best quarterbacks ever. Super Bowl winner, Super Bowl MVP. Bo Nix does not touch Drew Brees right now. But similar play styles, and I think he just works well with Sean Payton. And kind of moving that over, Sean Payton deserves all the credit for this Denver Broncos team. I mean, all the credit. I thought for a little bit there, he might have been the game. I don't want to say washed, because how can he be washed as head coach? But there was a second there where I thought, man, Sean Payton, is the game passing him by? It feels like the game is passing him by. It feels like these newer offenses, these younger head coaches are kind of passing by Sean Payton. It's not true. Sean Payton has coached the hell out of this Denver Broncos team, and he deserves all the credit. They are now 8-5. They are going to make the playoffs. They've got to win basically 2 of their last 4 games, 1 of their last 4 potentially, and still get in. This is a good team with not a lot of great talent, and it shows a lot about a head coach. That you can get more out of less. If you can do that, you're a good head coach. Sean Payton, with Marvin Mims, with Cortland Sutton, who's obviously a very good wide receiver, Troy Franklin, the rookie, Jaleel McLaughlin, Javonte Williams, and Audric Estime, I think is his name. He's taking those guys and taking them to 8-5. And not to mention Bo Nix, who wasn't particularly great last night. Do not get it twisted. He had one really long touchdown for 92 yards. You take that away, he barely threw over 200 yards, had a touchdown, or he wouldn't have had a touchdown, 2 picks. He wasn't amazing last night, but he was really good when it mattered. And I think situationally, half to half, quarter to quarter, that's what matters, especially in Sean Payton's offense. And Payton has continuously turned around this team, and people have talked about Mike Tomlin for Coach of the Year. People have talked about, Jonathan Gannon, the head coach of the year, and the Cardinals potentially Coach of the Year. If I had a Coach of the Year vote, it would go to Sean Payton. This team is not very talented. Even on defense, Zach Allen's been pretty good, and Patrick Surtain's pretty good, but outside of a couple of pieces, they're not exactly a star-studded defense. This whole roster needs still a makeover. They need to fix some of the positions on this team. They don't have a star receiver, although Courtland Sutton's pretty close. Bo Nix is a rookie. They have no running game week to week. Julio McLaughlin was good last night, but any one of their running backs aren't necessarily explosive or very good. Sean Payton has taken this offense that lacks weapons, this offense that lacks stars, and has turned them into a competent, capable offense who moves the ball week to week with efficiency. And scoring 41 points last night, I understand some of that came from the defensive side of the ball, 14 of it if I'm not mistaken. I don't think there's a better head coaching job in the NFL. I would vote him Coach of the Year. And I understand their schedule has been fairly favorable, but you still have to win those games. And those games were just as favorable to their opponents as they were for the Broncos to whoever they were playing. The Broncos were seen at the beginning of the year, even to me, as a team that was no way making the playoffs. But with a rookie quarterback, with effectively no running game, let's be honest, even if Julio McLaughlin was good last night, and some receivers who, outside of Courtland Sutton, lack juice and lack talent, Sean Payton is coaching his arse off and continuously winning games. And I think that's even a better coaching job and more deserving of Coach of the Year than a Mike Tomlin or anyone else in the NFL. The ability to do more with less continues to matter to me. And Sean Payton has shown that not only is he still a very good head coach, he's still at the top of the echelon of head coaches. Up there with the Kyle Shanahans, up there with the Andy Reids, up there with all those really good head coaches. Kevin O'Connell, Sean Payton is in that tier. And he's showing that this year. And he's having that renaissance. And I firmly did not see that coming. I thought the game might have passed him by. I thought these younger head coaches might have been more efficient or more sleeker or smarter when it comes to scheming up offenses. It's not the case. Sean Payton has completely turned this team around. And even last year, Russell Wilson wasn't terrible. He wasn't the same guy, but his statistics were still pretty good. And I think once you hand him Bo Nix, and I think it's a great way to kind of turn to this topic, is wow. Bo Nix just fits so much better with Sean Payton than Russell Wilson ever was going to do. Russell Wilson is a rah-rah guy, a cheesy player, and a little cringy at times. And when he got yelled at by Sean Payton, it was embarrassing to the national audience who saw that on every newspaper, who saw that on every TV. When Bo Nix got screamed at by Sean Payton, he matched his energy. What did Sean Payton say? God, I love it. Relationships matter so much in the NFL. It's why I'm not big on Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts, because I know they don't like each other. That's been wildly reported and wildly speculated over the past couple of weeks, days, months. It matters. And Sean Payton and Bo Nix just works. I don't know what the pinnacle of this is going to be. I still have my worries about the physical limitations of Bo Nix, but this combination just works. And credit to Sean Payton for turning this team around, and credit to Bo Nix for stepping into his own and being not only mature on the field, but off the field. And he reminds me a lot of Drew Brees. Not the biggest arm, not the fastest player, not the most athletic. relies on old school things like accuracy and his brain and his ability to see the field really, really well and match the energy of Sean Payton on and off the field, I love it. It's all Drew Brees-esque. He is not Drew Brees. That is light years away. But he does have some of those characteristics both on the field and off the field that do remind you of that. And Sean Payton, I think, knows that as well. And that is a great place to be if you are the Denver Broncos. A match made in heaven, not only personality-wise, but skill set-wise for Sean Payton and Bo Nix. Credit to Bo Nix for continuously proving everyone like myself wrong who was worried about the physical limitations and the fact that it didn't work out at Auburn. I thought a lot of his success was just the shield that was the Oregon football program. It's just not true. Sean Payton's been good. Bo Nix has been good. And those two deserve all of the credit for that. So credit to them. Credit to Payton. Credit to Bo Nix. Good for the Denver Broncos. They're going to make the playoffs now. I don't know how far they can go. They're not going to host a playoff game. They're going to have to go on the road. They're going to be a 5, 6, 7 seed. Probably the 6 or 7 seed. Probably not 5. Probably not 7. Probably at the 6 seed spot. I don't know how far they're going to go, but this is an absurdly good spot to be if you are the Denver Broncos. And an absurdly good spot to be where it just goes to show you. Do not be afraid to turn things around in an instant. Get rid of Russell Wilson. Realize you don't have the guy. Take a big swing. Bring in Bo Nix. And then be an effective offense and get back on the road. And that's what's so great about the NFL. It's what's so great about the NFL. Turning it around is not that difficult. So good for Bo Nix. Good for the fans of Denver. And good for Sean Payton. This team's going to be very good for years to come. All right, let's take a little bit of time to talk about that Sunday night football game, which let's just talk about this really quickly. I cannot believe there are people out there that are like, oh man, snow is football weather. Freezing cold, that is football weather. I was in the freezing cold. It was so crazy. When I was in Minneapolis this weekend, and I'd never been to Minnesota before. I'd never been to the heart of Minnesota in Minneapolis. I've never seen that kind of cold before. I'm an Arizona boy through and through. That cold literally hurts. Like, it hurts your face. It hurts your bones. That was insane. And you know what's crazy? It was colder in Minneapolis than it was in Buffalo. It was like 20 degrees in Buffalo. It was like 10 degrees all weekend and light snow in Minnesota. So that was kind of insane to just see that. And that was kind of fun because I was like, wait a second. It's colder here than it is in Buffalo. So just interesting thing, new perspective, new things you experience in life. But the Buffalo Bills beat the San Francisco 49ers on Sunday Night Football 35-10. Let's just say this really quickly about the Buffalo Bills, because I've talked a lot about the Bills. There's not much more I can say about the Bills. Josh Allen is the MVP. The defense is better than we thought. The offensive weapons are better than we thought. Sean McDermott is coaching for his job. They're coaching to really, for this be the last year for them. They could do all this, but if they blow it in the playoffs, Sean McDermott's gone. They're starting over from scratch. They got to do things differently. There's not many things I could say more, but what I will say, Josh Allen is so awesome. He is probably the most fun player to watch in the NFL right now. Just a watch, right? If you're just talking about a watch, if you're just talking about someone that is explosive, jumps off the screen, is a ton of fun, Josh Allen is that guy. I think Kyler Murray is also that guy as well. Lamar Jackson is that guy. I'm not talking about talent. I'm not talking about wins. I'm just talking about, dang, situationally, the plays that those couple of guys can make are insane. And the lateral back and then just the ability to score a touchdown. The only thing I worry about Josh Allen is the Cam Newton effect, where he's taking all these hits. He's bigger than everyone else. He's not protecting his body particularly well. I really hope it holds up. He's one of my favorite players to watch in the NFL. He is so absurdly talented. This Buffalo Bills team is destined for a Super Bowl run this year. I just think they're better than the Chiefs this year. And I have not said that in years past. I've said Kansas City's going to beat them. I've always picked against them. Things are just different this year. I can't explain why. I can't tell you why. But they're more talented. They're the better team. They can still get that 1 seed. They have the tiebreaker against the Chiefs. I love Buffalo. Love Buffalo this year. And I think they really do have an effective, reasonable chance to win the Super Bowl this year. And if I had to pick a Super Bowl winner right now, if I had to change out things, if I had to, I think it's Packers-Bills this year. And I think the Bills win it. I think the Bills win the Super Bowl this year. Okay, that's not the main thing of this. And maybe I should have kept the main thing, but I will now. The San Francisco 49ers are broken. This is not a, when we get healthy, we will be back in the Super Bowl. And I want San Francisco 49ers fans to understand that. Dre Greenlaw's coming back with an Achilles injury. The Fred Warner, who's got the ankle injury, right now is not the same player. Deebo Samuel is not the same player. Brandon Ayuk has a torn ACL. Brock Purdy needs a contract. Christian McCaffrey has now a PCL injury and has been battling an Achilles injury all year long. I just named nearly every single star player for the 49ers. Let's do it again. All of them have a lingering issue or have not been the same this year. Christian McCaffrey has a PCL injury and was dealing with the Achilles injury all year long. Deebo Samuel looks to appear closer to washed than anything else. Brandon Ayuk has a torn ACL. Brock Purdy needs a contract extension. Fred Warner has not been the same all year and is playing on a fractured ankle. Dre Greenlaw has a torn Achilles. And the cornerback position, Charvarius Ward, I don't think he's going to be back next year. I think that's going to be a contract cap catastrophe. I think he's going to have to go. This is not all right, when we get healthy, we'll figure it out. Next year, we'll be better. The San Francisco 49ers Super Bowl window is slammed shut. And I'm not trying to pour salt in the wound to Niners fans because although it's very obvious, me being a Cardinal fan, that I don't love the San Francisco 49ers, just hard to put that fandom away, I can say that they are a superbly talented team, and there's a reason why they've been to multiple Super Bowls, and they are still a really good team. But it's over. Like, it's over. O-V-E-R. Over. This team is not a Super Bowl contender anymore. They will be fighting for their playoff lives even next year. Every star player on this team has an issue that cannot just be passed over or looked over. It ain't good right now if you're the San Francisco 49ers in San Francisco 49er land. They've got issues everywhere. This team is a draft or two-way way from ever competing for a Super Bowl title again. Thankfully in the NFL, things can turn around fast, but this ain't it. This isn't a when we get healthy, it'll get better. It's not going to get better. And you need to understand that and rationalize with that and figure out how you can make it better. But with the lingering contract of Brock Purdy, you're not going to be able to pay everyone everything they want anymore. You've got to hit in the draft. And what really hurts this San Francisco 49ers team, and the guy that I think deserves a lot of blame but will somehow evade it, is their GM, John Lynch. They paid Christian McCaffrey an absurd amount of money for God knows what reason last year. Running back going into his 30s, paying him millions and millions of dollars. Father Time is undefeated, man. $20 million a year. And now he's got lingering issues that I don't know what happened in the offseason to cause it. And then the Trey Lance trade. Horrendous. The Brandon Ayuk issue was a debacle. But the answer has always been pay, because you weren't paying Brock Purdy. Now you got to pay Brock Purdy this year. And to everyone that says, well, no, we don't technically have to pay him until next year, that is not how it works. That is not how it works, especially with Brock Purdy. Seeing all these guys going down, he has all the leverage. Now maybe he takes a little less because he's getting paid early, but he's going to get paid. He's going to get paid this year. He will hold out. That will hurt the Niners' chances even more. They will have to pay him. Every quarterback gets paid at this time. Brock Purdy is not an exception to that. Although I wouldn't pay the guy, you're going to have to do so. But this is the reckoning that has been coming for the San Francisco 49ers. They had a chance to win a Super Bowl multiple times, and they blew it. Whether it's the Jarquitzi Tart interception that never was, or losing to the Kansas City Chiefs twice in a Super Bowl, you blew it. And it's over. It's over. O-V-E-R, over. Every player on this team has a lingering issue. Brandon Ayuk, torn ACL. Christian McCaffrey, Achilles and PCL. Deebo Samuel appears washed. Brock Purdy needs to be paid. Fred Warner is playing with, I don't even know why, but he's playing with a fractured ankle. Dre Greenlaw is coming back from a torn Achilles. It is over. And you have to realize that and reconcile with that. And it ain't Kyle Shanahan's fault, and it ain't even Brock Purdy's fault, who I've been highly critical of. And Trent Williams is another year older. He might not be here next year. This team has issues everywhere. The Super Bowl run, the Super Bowl window, it's slammed shut. It is over. Over. This is not a scenario where you come back next year just because everyone is healthy and run it back. You will be sadly mistaken, my friend. And it's time to realize that. And it's time to move off of pieces that you can move off of and get draft compensation or get a player back because you need to get younger, you need to get faster, you need to get stronger, you need to get less injury riddled. It's time to come to grips with that. Because Sunday night was terrible. I thought there was a chance the Niners might win that game. I understand they're going from coast to coast and it was a night game and it's freezing cold and it's snowy. I just thought that they would have a better right hook to answer back with. But thoroughly, they were dominated. The 49ers are no longer a great team. They're no longer a good team. They're just kind of a bad, injury-riddled football team. They're just not very good. Their star players are older and not playing as well as they used to. And every player on this team has an either injury that they're coming back from next year, has a contract concern, or will not be here next year, like guys like Javarius Ward, players like Trent Williams. Those two guys I don't even think are going to be here next year. It is a sad place to be, but it is done over for the San Francisco 49ers. And the sooner they reconcile with that, the sooner they can get back to being legitimate Super Bowl contenders. Thanks so much for tuning into the Ben Garcia Show. We appreciate you guys making us a part of your day. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, tell a friend about the Ben Garcia Show. We truly appreciate all the support we're getting. We are getting 2,400 subs. We just continue to grow, baby, grow. Appreciate you guys doing that. Again, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, tell a friend. I will be back later in the week. Obviously, after Thursday Night Football, I'm going to be honest with you guys, I am so beat. I am so tired. Was so excited to spend some time with you guys. Thank you for allowing me to take some time off. And thank you for continuously allowing me to do that. I've gotten some really, really good feedback and really nice things being said to me. People are starting to ask me to come on their shows. So I appreciate that. And I will talk to you guys later in the week. I will talk to you guys on Friday. But until then, I'm Benjamin Garcia. And until we have another show, it's been the Ben Garcia Show.